Hello everyone, welcome back to the Stretford review. This is my match review of Manchester United's win over Chelsea. I can't believe it. We had so much luck in this game, but we really needed a break and we did get it, thank God. I never would have expected before the game that this would be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination, but after 40 minutes, it was looking like our easiest game of the season so far. Mostly down to the fact it was 11v10 and some of Maresca's subs were just incredibly strange, but we just looked so comfortable for the entire first half. And I was so happy with that first half performance. It was so perfect until Casemiro. He channeled his inner Ugarte. That foul that Casemiro did to get sent off, that is something I expect Ugarte to do, not a 4-time Champions League winner. And I know there's people saying it was a harsh second yellow, but you shouldn't even give the ref an opportunity to send you off like that. I was actually thinking throughout the first half, because he was kind of lunging in on a few tackles when he was already on a yellow. I was like, he needs to be careful, especially with the wet conditions. Challenges always look worse in wet conditions. You just slide more, you're more forceful with the tackle. When the player falls, the water splashes up in the air. It just looks more violent almost. And I was thinking, man, we need to get him off the pitch for the second half. Even if it was for Ugarte, I wouldn't have cared. It wouldn't have mattered who we brought on. If it was 11v10 and we were 2-0 up, there's no way Chelsea could have come back into that game. But no, Casemiro had other ideas and decided to give us all heart palpitations for the whole of the second half, because once again, we can't have anything easy at this club. Everything has to be done the hard way. I will say though, despite having heart palpitations for that second half, we actually played quite well in the second half. I was quite happy. I thought Chelsea were going to be a lot better than they were in the second half. And I know, in fairness, Chelsea were very disjointed. Some of the subs Maresca made, it was like every 10 minutes he was changing his formation and his setup and making really very strange substitutions. So that was a bit odd, and Chelsea couldn't really get into a good rhythm. And by the time they kind of got into a decent enough rhythm where they were putting pressure on us with balls into the box, especially from the right-hand side, and James was putting a few decent balls in on the back end of that second half. But it was kind of too late at that point. They did get a goal with 10 minutes to go. But other than that, we defended quite well. They had one chance where I think James put in a low cross and Binder kind of palmed it out. There was a bit of a scramble there. But otherwise, we were actually comfortable enough, I thought, in the second half. I thought it would be a lot more stressful. Chelsea didn't look like scoring, but once they did, that's when the pressure really mounted, because if Amram lost that game or failed to win that game, there would have been there'd be protests outside Old Trafford. And in fairness, if we did manage to lose points in that game, whether that was a draw or a loss, the fault would have fallen to Casemiro. Casemiro would have had to take all the blame for that, for putting us in a position to play 10 versus 10. Because we started the game so well. I mean, we got Sanchez sent off after 5 minutes, and we had a few little nice bits of play before the red card, so we were actually playing really well. I'm not looking into that too much though, because that's kind of been the story of our season. We started really well against Burnley and Fulham, and then we fell off as the game wore on, so that definitely could have happened yesterday, but we'll never know, because obviously the goalkeeper getting sent off was such a big advantage for us for the entire first half. So yeah, I did think Chelsea would cause us more problems in the second half, but thankfully they didn't. It was great to see Bruno score his 100th goal on his 200th appearance. Nice bit of symmetry there. I think Bruno was the best player on the pitch for this game. Only one mistake I saw him make was when he tried to play in Sesko when we were 2-0 up, when Ahmad was the better option. He could have played in Ahmad, but otherwise I thought Bruno was amazing. I thought De Ligt was very good in defence as well. There were times in the back end of that second half where Chelsea were loading balls into the box and putting a lot of pressure on us, and De Ligt was commanding and he dealt with it really well. I thought Sesko was anonymous, unfortunately. Now, we did, in fairness, he won the flick on to put Mbeumo in for the red card, and that was a good, nice little flick on for Mbeumo, so that was nice. And unfortunately, he did get subbed at half-time because of Casemiro. Maybe in the second half would have got more involved in the game, but in the first half, his involvement was very limited. I think he only had 5 or 6 touches in the first half, which, along with our goalkeeper Binder, was like the lowest of our 11 in that first half. But yeah, he's just not getting involved as much as I'd like him to, and I understand lone striker for Manchester United is a tough gig. It's a graveyard shift, but he's got to get more involved somehow, whether that's better at pressing, getting involved in more physical duels, dropping a little bit deeper. Now, maybe Amram is telling him to stay high and not drop deep, but it would still be nice for him to show a bit of authority and say, okay, look, my team needs me, let me drop in a bit and collect the ball. Ahmad was frustrating. He's probably the most frustrating player on the pitch in this game. His general play I thought was quite good. He worked really hard, came back and defended well. He had nice link-up play in a few instances in the first and second half, but his final ball was lacking. There was a few times, especially with Sesko actually, he could have squared it to Sesko when the goalkeeper Jorgensen was out of position and kind of retreating back to his box, and Ahmad just took a little bit too long to find the pass. So again, final action wasn't great. Once again, Mbeumo I thought was really, really impressive. Obviously won the free kick that got the goalkeeper sent off. Always a willing runner, always showing for the ball, trying to make things happen, getting shots away, linking up nice, putting good balls into the box. He's been our best player so far this season, to be honest, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him so far. Another really positive thing is that both Mount and Cunha managed to play. So they both only missed the Manchester derby, which is great. I thought, especially when Cunha pulled up, I was worried it could have been a 5 or 6 week thing. And thank God we had the 2 weeks of the international break. That did help a lot. But Cunha came on in the second half and he did his job. He was quite isolated up there, but he was a good outlet. He would take the ball, he would shield it, he would win fouls, he would carry the ball up the pitch. He did exactly what we needed him to do in that second half, and I'm happy he's back fit. Same with Mount. I mean, Mount has obviously had terrible injury issues at United. Whenever you see Mount go down or you hear he's out injured, you kind of just assume you're not going to see him for another 6 to 8 weeks at least. So the fact he only missed the derby as well is a good sign. He's always getting in arguments, Mount, whenever he plays against Chelsea. It's always him and Enzo Fernandez who are going at it for whatever reason. He's a Chelsea youth product who got a game-winning assist in the Champions League final for them. But the Chelsea players, at least not the players who played with him, but some of the new Chelsea players seem to really have a problem with him. The same happened at Stamford Bridge last season, and I think also the season before. So there's some needle there, especially with him and Enzo Fernandez, which was quite funny to see. It's always nice to see your players beef other players when you're on the winning side. That's always nice to see. It's terrible when it's the reverse. If you've just lost and then your players are giving out to the opposition players, you're just like, just get off the pitch. But when we've won, that's all I can ask for. We also didn't get to see Garnacho come on for Chelsea, which was kind of disappointing in a way. I kind of wanted to. I remember when he was getting stripped and ready to come on at one point, and you could hear the boos already before he was even fully stripped and ready to go. And I just know our players would have clattered into him. Someone like Mazraoui or De Ligt maybe in that kind of right centre back role. If he saw Garnacho on the ball on the left hand side, he would have been right out there to him to take him out of it. But we didn't get to see that, unfortunately. Maybe at Stamford Bridge we might see something like that later in the season. And as for the lineup, guys, there wasn't that much that really surprised me. Maguire came in to replace Yoro, who was on the bench in this game but did come on in the second half. Amram is still doing this thing where he changes his back three in the middle of matches. To be honest, I only thought he was doing it to bring Maguire on when we needed goals, because obviously Maguire is our best goal threat from corners. But he did the same this time. He took Maguire off for Yoro, which was a strange one, but hey, look, we won the game, so who really cares? Once again, he persisted with Bruno in the 2 with Casemiro. Now, it was fine today because it was 11v10 for the first half. We managed to get a 2-0 advantage before it went to 10v10. But yeah, that's not the answer. Casemiro and Bruno, or Casemiro Ugarte, Casemiro Menu, there's not a viable answer. And if it was 11v11 and we had the Bruno Casemiro midfield 2, this game could have easily gone very differently in Chelsea's favour. And we're also lucky that Maresca subbed off Palmer, who I think had a bit of an injury, which was even more good news for us. I mean, he's our biggest scoring threat, both creating and goal scoring wise, so that was another benefit. Him coming off the pitch was good for us also. Everything just seemed to go right in that first half until the Casemiro red card, but thankfully we'd given ourselves enough of a platform to hold on to the game, being 2-0 up. Good on the team for doing that, because you should obviously control a game when it's 11v10, but it can be hard sometimes to break down a team of 10 men. I don't know if there's any kind of psychology behind this, but I always feel like teams with 10 men, everyone's just that bit more switched on maybe than they would be when it's 11. You're so aware of the fact you're going to have to really defend here, that you're really locked into defending your goal more than you are maybe attacking your goal. So it can be hard to break down teams with 10 men, but we did it really well. 2 goals weren't amazing. The Bruno goal was good. It's such a shame with Bruno because out of all of our players at the club, I feel like he might have the best off the ball goal scoring instincts. Him or Mbeumo. Bruno makes really good runs off the ball, but the problem is we don't really have a guy to create for him because Bruno's job is to also create. But he really gives me that kind of Frank Lampard vibes of getting in the box, knowing when to make runs. He's really clever with the runs he makes, and it's a shame that we don't have great service around him in terms of chance creation. So it's a shame we don't see him kind of get into those positions as often as he maybe should, especially with him dropping now deeper in the midfield too, which, as I've said so many times, it's not his best position. His goal was nice. The Casemiro goal, I mean, it was just terrible defending by Chelsea. The clearance and nobody claiming the ball, the keeper not coming out, it was just terrible defending from Chelsea. The goal we conceded, Chalobah, free header, poor defending from us. We should have dealt with it better, but we managed to hang on anyway, thank God. And as I said before, I was a little bit annoyed when we brought on Ugarte for Sesko. I know we had to bring an extra man into midfield, but I kind of wanted to see more from Sesko. I wanted him to get more of a chance, but also he did have 45 minutes. He didn't really do much after the flick onto Mbeumo. So it looks like he's going to take a while to settle in. Whether he does settle in remains to be seen. I'm praying, because we spent 75 million on this guy, so he needs to start delivering. And again, still no debut yet for Lemens. We went with Bayindir again in goal, which, I mean, look, I think the way Amram's going to do it is he's going to keep Bayindir in goal until Bayindir makes a bad mistake. And when he does make a bad mistake that costs us, Lemens will be in next, probably. I imagine that's what he's going to do. But he probably feels like there's no reason to change it right now. Like if he changes Bayindir, who hasn't really made a mistake the last couple of games, and Lemens makes a mistake on his first game, people are going to be asking, why did he change it when it was going okay for the last few games? I think Lemens will get his chance because I don't trust Bayindir. I don't think our own defence trusts Bayindir. So that next big mistake he makes, I imagine that's when Lamend is going to start. But I imagine going forward, until that mistake, Bayindir will probably start for us. But yeah, guys, I'm happy. Again, after that Manchester derby, I really did not expect us to get anything from this game. I thought we might nick a draw. Obviously, I didn't do a preview for the game this week. I was just worn out after the Manchester derby. This actually is the most drawn fixture in Premier League history, Man United versus Chelsea. So I was kind of maybe thinking 1-1, 0-0, that kind of thing. Usually the United-Chelsea games at Old Trafford are extremely boring. Chelsea have a terrible record at Old Trafford. The last Man United manager to lose at home to Chelsea in the league was actually Ferguson in his last season, which is crazy. That's 12 and a half years ago. Yeah, these games are always generally quite passive and they end in a draw and they're not very much end-to-end action. This was the complete opposite, which was great. That first half was one of the most chaotic first halves in the Premier League this season. It was such a great watch. And I think the really terrible weather added to it. Like, the weather was shocking for the whole game. It was constantly pouring rain. And that kind of added to the vibe of it. It was just aggressive, tackles flying in, people being reckless. It was just a great match to watch for the neutrals, I imagine. And I'm just so happy we got 3 points and have a platform to build now, hopefully. We have Brentford, the early kickoff on Saturday, 12:30 away, and Mbeumo back to face his old club. I probably will upload a preview for that because I'm in a good mood now because we won a game. So that'll be an interesting one as well. Not an easy game. Obviously, Brentford might not be the animal that they were for the last few seasons. They obviously lost Mbeumo, they lost Visa, and probably most importantly, they lost Thomas Frank to Tottenham, who did such an amazing job for Brentford. So they might not be the Brentford of old. I used to dread Brentford away and Brentford home. They're just a difficult team to face. But yeah, I'll hopefully be out with a preview for that later on this week before the Saturday kickoff. And hopefully we can finally see Amorim win 2 games in a row in the league, which we haven't seen. And it'll be a great time to start doing it because the pressure is still on Amorim. He won this game against Chelsea, but the pressure is still on. It gave him a little bit of breathing space, but he still needs to follow it up with another win. Hopefully to finally get back-to-back wins in the Premier League for the first time, which is insane that he hasn't done that yet. But hopefully Saturday afternoon is when that becomes a reality. Yeah, really happy with the result, guys. The performance as well, especially when we went to 10v10, the fact we didn't really give them that much of a sniff, I was very happy with. So yeah, onwards and upwards, on to Brentford on Saturday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.